11th of February 25, and I'm just looking at the story about an Albanian man who can't be deported. He was in UK illegally for over 20 years. He can't be deported because his son doesn't like the chicken nuggets in Albania, or foreign chicken nuggets, I don't know. It just shows how silly the country is and how silly we've been, you know. So here's, I don't know who Lara Brown is, some sort of policy maker or something, don't know, or one of these policy think tanks or something. Having now read this case, it is even worse than is being reported. The story involves 20 years of falsified documents, 300k of theft, and an endless appeal process. Chicken nuggets are just the tip of the story. An Albanian criminal was allowed to stay in Britain partly because his son will not eat foreign chicken nuggets, the Telegraph can reveal. In 2001, the appellant, Mr. Disha, an Albanian national, entered the country illegally. He makes an asylum claim on the basis of political persecution. Given this would be quite difficult to pull off from Albania, a safe country, he lies about being from Yugoslavia. Thankfully, his claim is rejected in September 2001, 8 months after it was filed. Due to lack of any evidence, he was being persecuted. He appeals his decision, although this was withdrawn in March 2003. So he made an appeal. I think he'd been in for 2 years anyway. He even withdrew the appeal. He didn't even bother with it. He'd already been here 2 years illegally. However, despite the fact that Mr. Disha was lying about being persecuted, he was not from Yugoslavia and was probably using a fake name. Somehow he gets exceptional leave to remain in September 2005 and then indefinite leave to remain, so it doesn't make sense. 2007 he becomes British basically, or 2005 even. Dubai doesn't let any of its foreign workers become citizens as far as I know. Or it's very strict, you need to have lived there 15 years and know the Quran or something like that, inside out. But really they've made it in a way that you can't become a thing. I think Singapore's the same, but here you just stroll in, basically that's you. Labour are there to call you. Anyone worried about it, they're there to call their constituents the R word and that, you know. Labour MPs, whatever. Even Tory MPs, basically. So, there we go. In 2006, Mr. Disha marries a naturalised British citizen, and I do believe she's Albanian as well. They have 2 children, so ethnic purity. They have 2 children, one born in 2009 and one 2014. Chelsea is central to Disha's case, in part due to the grounds he dislikes Albanian chicken nuggets. In 2017, Mr. Disha is sentenced to 2 years in prison for acquisition of or of possession of criminal property. He is found with 300k in cash on his person, which is later determined to be the profits of crime. So he can't explain it. He's got 300k in his car. He can't explain it, as far as I can see. After spending just 2 years in prison, the Home Office begins a deprivation of citizenship process in 2019. So this is under the Tories ruling by then. 2 more years later, in 2021, Mr. Disha is deprived of UK citizenship on the grounds he acquired it through deception. So this is under Boris. In 2021, Mr. Disha begins a lengthy appeals process which will have cost the taxpayer huge amounts of money. He claims the deportation order goes against human rights. The judge allows this appeal on human rights grounds. She decides that I think she's might be important, that it would be unduly harsh to ask Chelsea to either move with Mr. Disha to Albania or stay with his mother if she chose to remain in the UK. The judge's decision rests on Chelsea's educational needs. Key facts about this claim: Chelsea has no formal diagnosis. There is no professional assessment of whether their needs could be met in Albania. Camps have said they don't meet so I'll not open that just now. Chelsea hasn't seen a proper educational psychologist, just a trainee who provides no CV. The school's educational report only lists emotional regulation, independence, reading and writing, where Chelsea needs support. Much of the evidence of Chelsea's educational needs relies just on a letter written by a neighbour to the court claiming they have special needs, and I wonder if that's an Albanian British neighbour, and another by a family friend claiming Mr. Disha has been supportive in helping Chelsea trying to get a diagnosis. The judge rules Mr. Disha is important to Chelsea's life because he eats with the family, helps the child with emotional regulation, and spends time with him playing Lego figures. This is where the chicken nugget claim comes in. As part of the evidence, Chelsea has special needs. It is claimed that they will not eat the type of chicken nuggets that are available abroad. I mean, do they not? What kind of nuggets are they eating? Thankfully, the upper tribunal found that this bizarre case involved the making of an error of law. Does this mean the criminal can finally be deported? Not necessarily. We will now go back round again with a different first-tier tribunal judge making a new ruling. The system is totally broken. The government don't publish first-tier tribunal decisions. We don't see the outcome of most of the cases. A criminal with falsified documents, who lied in their asylum claims should never have been allowed to stay for 20 years. We urgently need reform of the tribunal system, the ACHR, and how we process these claims. Why is it so hard getting immigration numbers down? For policy exchange sets out how we could do this, blah blah. Yeah. So it's just silly. I mean, it really is silly. Not only is it silly, it's deeply incompetent and expensive. So we've got all this waste for somebody who had 300k in their car when the police stopped it. It's just madness, and we have to think that our governments are really sensible and stuff. If you even judge it in that, not even in the moral case of how they're changing Britain, just judge it on common sense, sensibility. It's just a total absolute shambles. So, and I've not really much hope that it will get tightened up now. Not enough probably, because they'll just find new loopholes and stuff. So you have no confidence. All you can do is vote reform. I've got no interest in reform, who the candidates are. I'm just voting them as a protest vote, as an Overton window shift. Do YouGov, vote reform in YouGov. When I ask you what 3 things are you politically concerned about, just pick do government petitions. If there's any brands or services you think are destroying the country, either long term or short term or whatever, you don't need to use them, you know. It's up to you. But this is just some of the things you can do, you know. Yeah, we need something like the Swiss electoral system where they vote in referendums all the time. But personally, I think we're heading for anarchy. It's okay to say we're heading for utopia, but I don't think you're allowed to say we're heading for anarchy, even if your common sense thinks that, you know. Although it is getting easier because Keir Starmer just said that the Boris waves were done by design and open border experiments. I can't remember actually what he said. But anyway, just something to think about. Don't bother if reform break up or whatever. Just keep voting them anyway as a protest vote. They're terrible on this issue anyway, but they're seen as the bogeymen at the moment, so vote for them. And Rupert Law's the only one speaking a bit of sense anyway, really.